Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to wherever it is you are coming from. If you are a returning viewer or if you are a new viewer, welcome. Today we're going to do a little something different. So maybe a lot of you are true crime people. Maybe you follow some true crime stories. Um, Maybe you just like to watch it, what have you. Um, I do. Um, and I do it just for fun. Like I'll have it on in the background. And again, I talk to myself. I talk to the TV. I do commentary, I'm running commentary most of my life. So, that's just how it goes. So I decided I was gonna, pick a few stories here and there, pick a few um, videos I haven't seen before. There's a lot I've already seen. There's a lot I haven't seen, and so ones I haven't seen, um, I'll go ahead and watch with you, and uh, you know, just share my thoughts, my opinions, my concerns. Just kind of how we've been doing it. Like I said, this is just a story. I don't know what it is exactly. It is well, let me read about it. Huh? Let's see. Let's take it off of there. Let's see. So it is about a lady named Nicole Vanderheyden who was found dead with gunshot wounds the morning after a fight with her boyfriend. The initial murder suspect was her boyfriend, but as investigation progressed, new evidence led to the conviction of another man. Dun dun dun. So, all right. Should be interesting. Always up for a twist. Let's see if we can guess. I like to do that too. I like to guess. See if I can guess. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. But let's take a look. Let's just watch a little. Turn on some subtitles and watch it.
They had a young son together, and they were kind of looking forward to a night out.
So Nicole and her boyfriend were going to go out.
Inside the bar as well as outside. And it's at that point where she gets up and exits the patio and is last seen leaving towards the west.
Spark County 911, what is the address for your emergency?
We just found a human body laying in.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, this is Rush to Judgment with Jessica, and I'm Jessica. I was just so excited and wanted to get into this that I did not introduce myself. Come, join. If you haven't been here before, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. Glad to see you. So, like I said before I started it, this is just me, blabbering. So you can watch these on your own without the commentary if you'd like. But sometimes I feel like watching it with commentary is helpful, and it brings out some questions that you might not have, or you can see it and say, Oh, you know what? She had the same question I did. And then we can chat. You can leave a comment and I'll chat back with you and we can chat. That would be a good option. I like to do that too. So feel free, like, comment, subscribe, comment in the chat how you feel. If you agree with anything I say, if you disagree with anything I say, be nice. I mean, you don't have to be nice. I guess you don't have to be nice. That's up to you. If you don't agree, that's fine. I can argue with anything I say. That is totally fine. So yeah, anyway, let's get back to it. Let's get back.
Where she is and whatever.
We have an explosive new trial for you out of Wisconsin.
This is the most brutal murder
Wisconsin.
that's ever been committed by
Again.
one person in the history of
Wisconsin. I think they do this on purpose.
Nicole in a fit of jealousy and anger, fueled by insecurity, alcohol, and numerous other drugs.
You knew all along what happened to Niki.
No, I did not.
All Niki wanted was a ride home. A ride home. That's her baby.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to
In a
tell
barn.
you. How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body. No, sir.
Dancing and rocking out with a band from
Here in downtown Green Bay.
Get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body. No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Oh no.
Friday, Saturday nights, a good nighttime party life here in downtown Green Bay.
And on this warm spring night, the action is at a place called the Watering Hole.
It's a friendly atmosphere, but it's really large. A lot of people can fit inside.
Somewhere among the hundreds of people dancing and rocking out with a band from California, the Steel Pants, is a young woman who would not live to see the dawn of the next day.
Well, that's
Her name
dramatic.
was Niki Vanderheyden, Niki, at the concert with her live-in boyfriend, Doug.
They had a young son together, and they were kind of looking forward to a night out, and it started off really well from what we know.
But both of them were drinking heavily, police would later say.
Oh, no.
especially Niki.
Plus, she was breastfeeding. She had a young
She was the white
son,
girl
so
wasted.
her tolerance probably wasn't what it used to be.
When the concert
Aw.
ends, Niki and friends head to another bar,
To
the
have a
Sardine
baby.
Can, with Doug saying he will catch up shortly.
There's surveillance video of her inside the bar as well as outside. She can be seen on the video dancing, having a good time.
But still, no Doug.
And we know that there were text messages between her and Doug accusing him of staying behind, maybe talking to other women.
Oh no.
Nicole was
What
starting
bitch you
to
with?
get irritated and upset with Doug because here she is with all of Doug's
Oh,
friends,
Lord.
and she doesn't know them very well. And her
Oh,
boyfriend, who
jeez.
she wanted to spend the night with, is not there.
Well, it doesn't sound like it.
Eventually, they
Just
move
admit
outside
you
to
love
an
whores.
outside patio area.
Well,
and it's
damn.
at that point where she gets up and exits the patio and is last seen leaving towards the west.
So she left alone. That's not
Friends tried
smart.
to stop her and confront her, but just couldn't get her to stop or listen. And she just kind of kept walking down the road by herself.
What happened next would not soon be forgotten in this small city in the American Midwest.
Is Green Bay a small city?
Front County 911, what is the address for your emergency?
We just found a human body laying in some weeds.
Okay, person beyond help, or do I need to give
Yeah.
instructions for CPR?
No, it's beyond help. It's
Ooh.
starting
Is
to
it a
decay.
is it a male or a female?
It's got long hair, but I didn't go near it.
You couldn't even tell who it was. Her face was completely black and
Jesus.
blue. She had more than 240 injuries from what had happened.
The only articles of clothing that were left
Oh my
on her
God.
body was a sock on each foot And then there was like a pinkish colored bracelet that you'd get from like an event on one of her wrists.
Brown County Public Safety, this is Therese.
It was 3 hours later when another call came in to 911.
Yes. How do I go about, missing persons?
It was Niki's boyfriend, Doug.
Okay, and who's missing?
It's my girlfriend, and she does live with me, and she's never done this before.
What's her name?
Niki Vanderheyden.
Now, Detective Brian Slinger had a name for the victim and a name for a likely suspect.
And what's your name?
Doug Dietrich.
They had already found the body, and here they have someone calling saying that they can't find their girlfriend.
Obviously, there were some things that were concerning to us.
got him.
Why did you wait so long to make this phone call, especially when you have a newborn baby at the house that needs mother's attention?
So it kind of painted a picture that maybe Doug had done this.
An officer was dispatched to Doug Dietrich's home.
I'm here for a missing persons report.
We used a audio video recording device to record it so that we could get a look at him. We focused on his hands, we focused on the general condition of his body, focused on the condition of his house, his behaviors.
Dietrich was not told about the discovery of a body just 3 miles away.
Do you suspect any foul play? If so, why?
I don't know. I don't suspect it, but this is the area she walked in. I don't like.
Okay.
The story was he woke up once or twice through the night to use the bathroom and to take care of the baby, and woke up the next morning, 10, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there, and she still wasn't home.
Dietrich had not called in the missing person report until 4 in the afternoon.
I'd be lying if I said we weren't alarmed with his level of concern. The level of concern did not seem to match what it should be, I guess.
So
Okay,
that night,
listen.
detectives got a warrant to search the home. Doug and
How many times did he call?
Probably the first person you look to.
Like, that's where you go. How many times did he try to call her? Like, they had ended the night on bad terms. He thought she left and went home. He got home, she wasn't there. He knew she was drunk. Like, he knew she left the bar. Like, did he go back to the bar or go to that bar eventually and find out that she had left and went home? And then he's just like, okay, she's at home. And then when he got home, he's like, okay, she's not here. So she must have went somewhere else, tried to call her. She doesn't answer. Phone goes voicemail, whatever. And then by the time he got up, did he call her again and phone's still going to voicemail? Did he call other people looking for her? Like, did he, do all of that? And then when he couldn't find her and she wasn't there, did he then do the police report? Like, is that what you're looking for? Or is it just, did he do all of those things? Or did he, and also, did he just kind of sit there and be like, okay, well, she's pissed off. She went somewhere else to sleep. She's not answering me. Is this a pattern? Well, not a pattern, I guess, because he said she's never done this before. But I don't know. Who knows?
The boyfriend,
Okay.
the fact that there was a falling out that night. Mr. Dietrich obviously was a person of interest right away.
And Dietrich was brought to the sheriff's office for what would be a grueling 3-hour late night interrogation. The detectives, Brian Slinger and Lee Kingston, wanted to know why Doug had waited so long to call in the missing persons report.
I wasn't feeling good all day. I was hungover and feeling like shit, and then not wondering. I was thinking she went off with another guy, whatever. All this shit going through my mind.
After about 2 hours, the detectives finally tell Dietrich about the body found in the nearby farm field.
I don't think it's been 100% identified as her, but there's a lot of similarities. What do you mean a lot of similarities? There's some physical description, height, blonde, belly button ring.
They are watching him closely to see his reaction before asking him, essentially, if he killed her.
And you don't know where she is or what happened to her?
Not a clue.
Did you do anything to cause her to go missing?
No, not at all. Besides being an asshole a little bit on the phone, I mean.
Now, the detectives raise the stakes, telling Doug Dietrich they want the clothes he was wearing that night when he was out with Niki, and that they are already searching his house for evidence of a murder.
Is there anything in your, when they go search your house, they're gonna find anything in their house they're gonna find that's gonna say you had anything?
Absolutely nothing whatsoever. Nothing to do with this. I mean,
For the next half hour, as the detectives watch, Doug Dietrich sobs almost uncontrollably, at one point saying he is scared.
Just try to relax. You're scared?
let her back. She needs to come back.
He's scared.
Oh,
Were they the tears of a grieving boyfriend? The tears of someone who is scared he has been caught.
Every last resource. I will find them, Niki. I will find them. I love you. I love you. I love you. I really do.
Okay, that's weird.
Green Bay, Wisconsin is all about its football team. The Green
Yeah,
Bay
it's
Packers.
weird.
Yeah, pretty much anywhere you go around here, it's Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, if you don't love
Packers.
the Packers, you might get booted out. It's green and gold here for days and days and days.
But the stadium was empty. The football season had not yet started. On the spring weekend, Niki Vanderheyden was killed. And so her brutal murder was all anyone talked about.
Many people said, how can such a brutal crime take place in Green Bay, Wisconsin? How can somebody commit such a random act?
Lots of
in our
brutal,
community?
unspeakable things happen in
It was
Wisconsin.
very scary. I mean, can't think of anything.
Why are you all
worse.
surprised?
A random attack like that.
Shit, I'm not
on a young
surprised
lady
by the
at
things that
Barclays,
happen in
you know,
Wisconsin
in a small
anymore.
100,000 person community.
Seems like every time you turn
The
around,
shock
it's
of
a new
Nicole
case in
Vanderheyden's death
Wisconsin.
was felt throughout this family-friendly city.
By all accounts, she was a very good teacher, and she was an excellent mother, a smiler, somebody who they said would light up a room.
Niki was the mother of three, two from a previous marriage, and the third, 6-month-old Dylan, with her live-in boyfriend, Doug Dietrich.
She really cared about her kids and would never have done anything to put them in harm's way or in jeopardy or to leave them alone.
The first big break in the case came
normally
with
how
a
mothers
call
are.
from two joggers out for a morning run, coincidentally caught on a student driver's dashboard camera.
We were out jogging that morning at about 5:30, and we had to jump over a pool of blood in the road. And if you look close on the right-hand side, you can see where the blood and stuff is.
And then a neighbor found more of the grisly evidence on his lawn, including a wire cord he had run over
Hey,
with his lawnmower.
that's a dare
That's
ruler.
absolutely where the murder took place. The blood that was collected there, the hair samples, and then that cord that was found, which we believe is like a phone charging cord, came back all positive with Nicole Vanderheyden's blood DNA.
And then detectives began to hear from Niki's friends and relatives that Doug had been abusive to Niki.
She's been very depressed lately. Why is she been depressed? Can't talk.
Her sister Heather said Doug drank heavily and used cocaine.
And then, about 2 weeks ago, she told her that he has been beating her. She asked, has he ever hit you? She said, yeah. And my mom said, you need to come with me. You're going to go beat up. And she didn't.
And one of Doug's former girlfriends, Rebecca Mott, came forward to tell detectives how Doug could be jealous and often violent.
We got in a fight, tackled me, and I broke my ankle. He would,
Blech.
You know, throw stuff, break stuff, and I mean, I would too.
He wasn't the most stand-up citizen or the best boyfriend by any means.
And now the search warrant at Doug's home began to produce results.
Just because you're a wife
Nicole had
beater
some
doesn't mean you're a
significant prints on
murderer.
her back that appeared to be a shoe, which is like a herringbone pattern that's common on the bottom of Air Jordan or Nike Jordan shoes. We located a pair of shoes in Mr. Dietrich's garage that had that similar pattern on them. That also had some red staining, red drops on the bottom of them that we figured was consistent with blood.
And inside of Nikki's
Figured?
car,
Did you
parked in the
test it?
garage, was what appeared to be blood splatter, blood drops in the back seat.
We were pretty confident at that time that that Doug was responsible. Our theory at the time was that
My question is, when you test somebody's personal vehicle and personal house and things like that, and you find blood and things like that, how do you know it's from the crime and not from like something else? Like if I cut myself in my kitchen and there's blood in there and I just so happen to have been murdered in my kitchen and somebody cleans it up real good and they don't know where I was killed, but then they find my blood in the kitchen, are they going to say, oh, she was murdered in the kitchen, but that blood is not in my kitchen? Or, I've always thought too, like, my hair falls out a lot, okay? Like if I would just run my hands through it, I could leave my DNA just everywhere. It just is everywhere. Just everywhere. I get my DNA from a crime scene and be like, why is your DNA at this murder scene? Oh, hell, I don't know. You tell me, sir? That's your job. I don't know. I don't. How do they rule that out? Like there were drips of blood in the bathroom. I won't go there and how that happens, but how do you rule DNA out on things like that? Like I don't know. She could have blood in her car. Was it a significant amount of blood or just enough blood to plant that seed?
somehow Nicole got home. There was a disturbance or some sort of disagreement out in the street or in the driveway. And then the theory was that Doug used her vehicle, which was in the garage, to transport the body.
At 7:03 p.m., attempting contact with Doug Dietrich. What's the address?
Less than 72 hours after Niki's body had been discovered, Detective Brian Slinker
He was
on his way to Doug Dietrich's house to arrest him for murder.
We'll talk down there and I'll kind of explain to you what's going on.
He was pretty, he was emotional. He had the chance to speak to a family attorney prior to his arrest, so there was no interview after his arrest. He was just transported to the jail.
He shouldn't have talked to you in the first place. Don't talk to police.
He comes from a pretty
Keep your
well-off
mouth
family
shut.
here in the area. He had a pretty good life, and so people just thought he was kind of, a rich kid, kind of getting away with what he wanted.
Dietrich had no alibi for his whereabouts that fateful night when Niki walked off into the darkness. And the friend who was with him that night, Greg Matthew, appeared to the detectives to be evasive about Doug's movements.
Because I'm going to tell you that there's no doubt in anybody's mind that the evidence shows
And cops lie.
Doug had involvement in her murder. There's no doubt about it. Okay?
They lie.
And the friend became upset when detectives asked him about Doug's whereabouts in the hour before the babysitter, Dallas, said Doug had returned home.
Who can vouch for you for the 60 minutes before you showed up and made contact with Dallas? Who can vouch?
They were with a hooker.
What is this, 60 minutes? 1 hour. I'm asking for a 1 hour period of time. Who can vouch for where you were if your phone is dead? So nobody. That's your alibi? Nobody. That's your alibi. Your alibi is the guy that's in custody for murder.
The evidence against Doug Dietrich was building But the case was about to take another
He has
dramatic
no
turn.
cuts,
All because of something
no
detectives
defensive
saw
marks on
this
his
body cam
hands, his
video of
arms,
Doug Dietrich when he first reported Niki missing.
nothing on his neck, nothing on his face.
Breaking news on the case of the Brown County woman whose body was found in a farm field.
16 days after he had been arrested for the murder of his
She had
girlfriend
200 and something
Doug
wounds
Dietrich
on her
was
body.
released from jail.
She put up a fight. He didn't have nothing on him.
People were really shocked and were like, what are police doing? How can they let a murderer go when we know, or we thought we knew, that he was the one that did it?
But behind the scenes, the case against him had completely fallen apart.
A lot of what changed was we were getting evidence back from the crime lab. There was a lack of physical evidence tying Doug to her body, to her clothing.
The blood found on his Air Jordan shoes was not that of Niki Vanderheyden, but that of a turkey.
Who would have known he would have went turkey hunting a week or two prior and there'd be turkey blood in the garage.
The blood found in Niki's car wasn't hers, but that of her daughter. And the vehicle couldn't be used to move the body, as police first theorized.
We're able to find out that that car did not move that entire weekend.
And then the clincher.
We went back and looked at the videos, and we had noticed that
He's got a Fitbit.
The day that we interviewed him at the house when he called in the missing person, we started
Like,
thinking
I got
about,
a Fitbit. You can see where I am all the time.
To show, was he moving around that night?
The device was turned over to crime technician Tyler Bailey.
Fitbit is an activity tracker that you wear on your wrist, similar to a watch or a bracelet. There was a short amount of steps recorded in the middle of the night, consistent with someone
Going
getting
to
up
the bathroom,
to use the
taking care of
bathroom
a
in the
baby.
middle of the night. And then after that, there was another period where there was no movement recorded from the Fitbit.
Doug Dietrich's Fitbit confirmed his alibi.
And there was no way he would have gotten up in the middle of the night, went out into the front yard, committed a
If you
brutal
ever
murder,
need to have
drove
alibis,
a couple miles away,
get you a
and then
Fitbit.
came back home.
Detective Brian Slinger had worked hard to
Any type
destroy
of
his own case
smartwatch.
and clear Doug
Hell,
Dietrich
your
of
phone
the crime,
tracks your
but still
movement.
felt bad about first arresting
But
an
if you're
innocent
going to
man
commit a
for murder.
crime,
He missed the funeral. He missed certain
Don't take your
things.
phone.
He was painted as this, and I think anyone
Don't
would be
take your
lying,
Fitbit.
or they said they didn't feel slightly bad about it.
Okay, well then, who do they think did this? Is this person still out there? Are they in the community? I think it was
fucking
pretty
obviously.
scary for people living in that area too to realize that, okay, if Doug didn't do it, who did and where is this person?
And the key was to find whoever met up with Niki Vanderheyden sometime after she walked away from this downtown bar and then killed him. Police
whoever
didn't
did it
have
is
a
still out
We
there.
reenacted it numerous times. We walked the path, and she kind of walked off into darkness, and that's kind of where we were at.
It would be 2 full months before a breakthrough.
Got a call from the crime lab telling me that they were able to get enough DNA off of one of the socks, of all things, from her body to enter it into the CODIS system.
The CODIS system is a nationwide registry of DNA collected by the FBI. Anyone who has ever been arrested will be in there.
And they got a hit from the state of Virginia for George Stephen Birch.
George Stephen Birch had been arrested in Norfolk, Virginia in 2001 for murder, but was acquitted at trial. He had 5 other criminal convictions and was on probation for one of them, requiring him to stay in Virginia.
I'm thinking, is this
Well,
a
he wasn't in
transient?
Virginia.
Is this a truck driver that may have been in the area for the weekend? How is someone from Virginia's DNA showing up in Green Bay?
What the investigators did not know was that George Birch had been living in Green Bay for some 3 months in this house, home of Linda and Edward Jackson.
I met him a long time ago back in upstate New York.
He was a truck
He
driver.
and his
wasn't
wife
he?
were separating, and he knew I was doing very well out here, so he asked me if he could come out and get a fresh start.
He was extremely polite. He called me Miss Linda, and I kind of liked that. Just very personable.
I bet you
very,
did.
very personable.
Birch was a
Sure
regular
liked
at a
that.
bar 3 blocks away from the Jackson home, a place called Richard Cranium.
He was so fun-loving, Everybody at Richard
Cranium's.
called him Big Country, and he was 6'8"
Dickheads, maybe?
tall guy, but very friendly.
He was always, I guess you'd say, very charming towards the girls. He had no problem with walking up to any girl and just talking with them and striking up a conversation.
The Jacksons say they had no idea the man staying in their home was being sought in the Niki Vanderheyden murder investigation. In fact, Ed Jackson and George Birch had gone fishing the very day her body was discovered.
Oh, he was real happy. He had a big smile on his
Yeesh.
face and holding it up. And that picture actually played a big part in it also because when you focus in on it and you look at his right hand, you can see the cuts on his knuckles.
But detectives only learned that Birch was in Green Bay after he seemingly outsmarted himself.
We had no contact with him with the sheriff's department. However, Green Bay Police Department did have one contact with him from right around that time frame.
It was from a minor hit-and-run traffic accident involving a Chevy Blazer that belonged to the Jacksons. When the vehicle was found, the front seat had been set on fire. It was the same vehicle Birch drove the night of the murder.
And at that point, the Jacksons called in for a stolen vehicle. And the last person to use that vehicle was George Birch. And he said that, I must have left the keys in the car. Somebody must have stolen it.
But now George Birch's name was in the police department database, along with his address.
So I jumped in my car and ran out to that house, and there he is, standing on the porch smoking a cigarette.
And even better, he had given his cell phone to the police to clear his name in the earlier investigation.
It basically mapped out his night and gave us a lot of the answers that we needed to have.
The GPS app from the phone showed Birch spent most of the night at his favorite haunt, Richard Cranium's, where detectives believe he met Niki Vanderheyden.
She was just looking for a ride home, and then he ended up bringing
Why?
her home. And
Ladies, do not, I repeat, do not get in the car with a freaking stranger, especially one that looks like that. Don't do it. Jesus Lord. I said call an Uber, but that's getting in the car with a stranger too. Jesus. She didn't even have to do that. She was there with friends. It's unnecessary.
actually assaulting her in front of her residence. She's inside of a vehicle, fell out the passenger side onto the ground, which is where he proceeded to curb stomp her or stomp her head into the ground, stomp her back into the ground, which is how the footprints would have gotten, shoe prints would have gotten on her back. And then the phone moved and went directly from Nicole's residence to the scene where the body was located. So his phone showed him at every single crime scene location and basically mapped out that night for us.
Now authorities were sure they finally had the right person who had taken Niki off the quiet streets of Green Bay and killed her.
Breaking news out of Green Bay today. 38-year-old George Birch was arrested this morning for the murder of Nicole Vanderheyden.
Of course,
investigators say Birch has been tied to the scene of the crime with forensic evidence.
George, must be enough for me. I'm just going to take you back some more time and I'll see if we can hook up.
But George Birch was a cool customer, showing little emotion once he was in custody. At 6'8", 270 pounds, towering over Detective Brian Flynn as his handcuffs were removed.
I told him that he was under the arrest for the murder of Nicole Vanderheyden, and I wanted to speak to him about that. His face didn't change one bit.
Okay, so is this something that you want to talk to me about? Sir? About that? You don't want to talk to me about that? So if I read your Miranda rights, you don't want to talk to me, so I would prefer a lawyer. Okay.
But once at trial, George Birch would have plenty to say, offering a version of the night that would turn the trial into a real whodunit.
George, did you murder Nicole Vanderheyden?
No, sir. Definitely not.
Do you know who did?
Doug Dietrich.
Now both men would be on trial.
What?
We have an explosive new trial for you out of Wisconsin. It's taken the nation and all media outlets by storm.
Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen.
It was 40-year-old George Birch who was on trial for the murder that had shocked the city of Green Bay, Wisconsin.
That a violent, ruthless killer could do what we believe the evidence will show Mr. Birch did to Niki Vanderheyden.
But the lawyers for George Birch sought to turn the tables.
Where is this trial at?
The defense came out swinging. We're going to show you how horrible Douglas Dietrich is.
Telling the jury it was Niki's boyfriend, Doug Dietrich, not George Birch, who had the motive to kill her, just as investigators had first believed.
Doug murdered Nicole in a fit of jealousy and anger, fueled by insecurity, alcohol, and numerous other drugs. The evidence is going to show you Doug did this. At the very least,
Doug did
it's going to
it.
give you significant doubt about whether or not George did this.
Nope, George did it.
And so, for 2 full days, Doug Dietrich was on the witness stand, once again having to defend himself.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Prosecutor David Lassay
I mean,
took
I
him
guess you
through
could
what
take it off.
happened the night of the concert.
But
The
his baby
couple
was home.
dancing and happy, leading up
I'm gonna
to
leave
a
your baby at
dramatic
home.
Doug, when was the last time that you personally saw Niki alive?
It was going to the bathroom and see you in 10 minutes, whatever, you know? And that's the last time I saw her.
The prosecutor paused to let Doug Dietrich's emotion play out. From the bench, Judge John Sikowski, a former district attorney himself, appreciated what the prosecution was trying to do to overcome a major challenge.
It would be the fact that Dietrich was originally arrested. He would have had more of a motive. He would have been a likely suspect.
Do you have absolutely any involvement in Niki's disappearance or
I
death?
don't like that in Wisconsin
did
they
not.
sit and ask questions. Stand up.
Thank you. No further questions at this time.
But the cross-examination of Doug Dietrich would be aggressive and brutal, starting
course
with
it would.
text messages he had sent to his mother just before the night that he felt trapped by Niki.
I don't
Okay.
recall that that conversation.
How about when you told her, I'm very seriously thinking about telling Niki and the kids they have to move. I'm not cut out for this life one bit. Do you remember that?
I remember, I think I sent something on the lines of that, and I was having a, little downer day or whatever, and I just said that to my mom with not truly meaning it, I guess.
Did you often say things you didn't mean to your mom?
I mean,
People
yeah,
vent.
sometimes I would, yeah. I mean,
See,
it was
this
my
is
mom. I'm very.
this is what gets me. This is what gets me about things like this is that anything that you say about it, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you are a suspect in anything that you've said about that person will be taken out of context and they will use it against you. Like, if you've ever said any mean thing in your life, that's why I'm just like, oh my God, like, they're going to find me to be such a asshole and a piece of shit in court because my mouth is so vulgar. And they're going to read my messages and be like, this lady hated everybody. And when really, that's just the way I talk. Like, I am very blunt and very straightforward, especially with, depending on who I'm talking to. And if you're going to take my messages out of context, and especially if I'm talking to my mom or if I'm talking to my best friend, like, you're going to take those messages and be for real, like, it's gonna look bad. And I don't like the way people do that. And I guess I get that that's what they have to do to try to prove a point. But I hope that, juries see that, people are human and people have these conversations and people do these things. They're just like me and you, but you have to take it into context of what you're doing in the whole. Like, that's rough.
Close to her, and
So since you're close to your mom, that means you lie to your mom?
Word twisting, it's ridiculous.
no, I don't say I would lie. I mean, maybe sometimes, but
And then to the text messages Niki sent to him that night when he had not shown up.
Did you hurt Niki that night?
do you mean physically or what? No, I mean,
Did you physically beat her in the past?
no, I never physically beat Nikki.
You just have no idea why she would say these things.
Exactly.
With Doug Dietrich back on the stand for day 3, turned to why he had waited so long to call friends or family or police when he woke up early the next morning and Niki wasn't there, suggesting he already knew she was dead because he killed her.
Did you search for Niki on foot or by vehicle?
No, I did not.
Still didn't call the police?
I did not at that time, no.
Because you knew you didn't have to.
And now boring in on his actions when police did arrive.
And then you made sure that before police arrived, you took a shower.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I was feeling grubby and,
You wanted to
needed
hide
to wake up and
You wanted to hide any proof that you were involved in her murder, so you took a shower before the police came.
And then a final stab to make sure the jury knew that police, too, had at first believed Doug Dietrich.
Oh, God.
They knew she was murdered 118 feet from your house.
I don't know what they knew at that point.
You knew all along what happened to Niki.
No, I did not.
That's when the Brown County Sheriff's Office arrested you and told you were under arrest for the murder of Nicole Vanderheyden.
That is correct.
I have no further questions.
The defense had planted its seeds of doubt.
Look, it's a classic jilted lover gets vengeance story. Yeah, it's classic. It's as old as time itself, this story.
But the defense still had to find a way to deal with the overwhelming forensic evidence against George Birch, including his DNA on Niki's sock and the GPS data pings on his phone, showing his travels to and from the crime scene.
The evidence that the state clearly presented, it was difficult to overcome that.
And so it was no surprise when his lawyers called George Birch to testify.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Given the
He helped
situation
him.
here, especially given the scientific evidence, Birch almost had to testify. And I think what he had to try to do was fashion a story that would somehow explain away the physical and scientific evidence.
He wore a tie and tried to come across as a gentle giant.
What?
George Birch on the
He had to
stand,
help him
sometimes he
get rid of the
seemed
body.
likable.
But sheriff's deputies were concerned that Birch was no likable, gentle giant.
Birch is wearing a stun belt underneath his clothes so that it's controlled by remote control. They can provide an electric shock to him in case he acts out in the courtroom.
Hey, George.
How you doing?
Good. You've been sitting here for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Probably have a lot you want to explain to the jury.
Yes, sir.
Birch described meeting Niki at his regular hangout, Richard Cranium's.
I was flirting.
And how was she acting towards you?
Somewhat the same, pretty much. Flirting back and forth with each other.
Birch said they left together and ended up outside her house, where he says they had sex in the back of the Chevy Blazer before someone attacked both him and Niki.
The next thing I remember was the person behind me had been saying, the first thing I was coherent to me that I could hear them say was, "Look what the made me do."
Did you know if she was alive or dead at that point?
I didn't know if she was alive. There was a lot of blood on her face, come out of her mouth, on her back.
And again, at that point, did you know who that individual was?
Never seen him before in my life.
Do you know who that individual is now?
Now I do.
You're a big fat liar, Andre the
And he
Giant.
said Dietrich then ordered him at gunpoint to put Niki's lifeless body in his Blazer and drop it in a nearby farm field.
What was Dietrich doing at this point?
He was standing behind me with he still had the firearm in his hands, pretty much directing me what to do.
Birch's testified.
The judge doesn't even believe you,
Would
sir.
explain perfectly.
He's looking
why
at
his
you like
DNA
you're an
was on
idiot.
Niki's sock, why his phone GPS data showed him at the crime scene and at the farm field.
George, did you murder Nicole Vanderheyden?
No, sir.
Yes.
Definitely not.
Do you know who did?
Doug Dietrich.
No, he didn't. That story was a
The
lie.
final day of the trial.
Man, that's crazy. But yeah, like, maybe I should just do cases in Wisconsin. Like, that's crazy. I wonder if there's any, if I could find a case on that, like the trial. Wonder where you would find it. But that's nuts, man. Like, he just sat up there and he just straight lied. And he just, like, his lawyers just let him sit up there and lie. Like, I feel like there's some ethical things wrong with that. Like, I don't feel like you can't do that. Like, I feel like you cross some lines there, Mr. Lawyer Man. And you let your client sit up there and lie and then pass the blame onto somebody else. And then try to talk shit on him and the woman that you brutally murdered. You're a piece of shit, like, of the highest degree. So, yeah. So, that's that. That's our first true crime. If I can find any more on that, I would like to see something more on that one. Because it's interesting to see, like, how they spin stories in court. Like, I've personally been through a court case where I've known a defendant and I've known, like, their backstory and stuff, but then I've also seen, like, how they are portrayed in the media, and then how prosecution plays the story, or what story they play in the courtroom. And they can just say whatever, they can do whatever, and they can say whatever, and I mean, that's their storyline, that's what they go with. And it's just interesting because, I mean, what do you have to argue it? You know? Like, that's the storyline they came up with, and then the defense has to run with it and defend that, or, you know, it's wild. Like, it's wild. They can paint whatever picture that they want, and it's pretty wild. So, all right. Well, see if I can find any more interesting ones that I haven't seen that are worth watching. All right. Well, I shall see you on the next one. Later. Oh, like, subscribe, comment, do the things. I'll see you later.